From deep in the Burbank Media District, it's time for another edition of My Burbank Talks. This podcast is presented by the staff of My Burbank. Now, let's see what's on today's agenda as we join our program.
Hi, everybody. Craig Sherwood here, along with Craig Durling, and, of course, the infamous Ross Benson.
Hey, everybody.
Okay.
Good to be back. Good to be back.
You're allowed to say hi. It's okay.
Sure, it's like a bank in here.
Yeah, exactly.
We're going into it's another edition of the week that was and the week that will be for August 14th. So hopefully...
Is now I'm supposed to say marker? Oh.
Yeah.
The window behind the scenes there.
Yeah. I guess you're waiting for the behind-the-scenes video to come out later.
Get Ross to show up to rehearsal one of these days. I do declare.
Well, let's head back to last Monday, which was the 7th. You know, we did our show on that day, and when our show wrapped up, we had a little action, and in that being numerous fires were being set by our firebug, an arsonist, who was going around in the media district of Burbank, setting fires in multiple dumpsters, cardboard boxes, and even set one in Toluca Lake.
Anything that could burn.
Both Ross and Craig were out and on the scene. So why don't you guys talk about what you saw, what happened, and what went on?
I was just hitching a ride home with Roscoe here. Next thing you know, we turned left instead of right. And I said, "Where are we going?" Forgetting he has the earpiece in, so he knew where we were going. Where were we going?
Well, during our podcast, I'm listening to Burbank Fire in my ear here, and they're chasing fires they're asking for additional engines. They're going from one dumpster to another fire while the podcast is going on. Then we wrapped, and I said, "Craig, let's go." You know, chasing fires is in my blood. And we went, and what?
And they were right in the very nearby the studio too.
So we got to, I guess, a couple. We got to one.
I think the first one was behind, was near
The medical building there.
Yeah, behind Novo Cafe,
right,
kitty corner from there.
And then when we were there, the police officer said, "We got another one across the street."
Yeah,
that was near the car wash. And while we were there, then they said,
"Oh, they were tearing off from every one we would go to. They'd be tearing off in another direction, going to."
You guys said that the police are all putting out the fires instead of the fire department. Why didn't they wait till use the water from the fire engines instead of just using all their extinguishers up?
That's a question that you might want to ask the officers that put the fires out.
Because they're first responders and they have fire extinguishers.
But I mean, whoever set them, they were just dumpster fires, weeds on fire.
Yeah, that first dumpster we went to, though, that wheeled across the alley, I think that was right up against the building, so that could have started the building.
And the phone pole. Then it got electrical involved, and from there, I think we heard over 200 block of Kenwood, and I was going down Heffron and jammed past Screenland, and you said, "Go back, go back."
I think there's a fire in the middle of the street down there.
So we turned around, and there was a fire. The guy just took and put.
Yeah, it was part of like parts of, like, somebody took apart a cabinet or something, or a set of drawers, and we were coming down one end, and Burbank PD was coming down the other. So nobody was far away from any of these. We just didn't find anybody.
And then they said they had somebody stopped at Hollywood Way and Oak, so we rolled over there, and we weren't there any more than 2 minutes, and they all tore off to the Vaughn's parking lot.
Right.
I mean, we're talking. The PD was just chasing left and right.
And I recall nights years ago like that, going from one thing to the next and to the next, and gets the adrenaline up. We were chasing them around for a bit, and they ended up detaining somebody in front of Vaughn's. But I guess they were a person of interest at the time, but ended up not being involved, because they ended up taking a suspect into custody.
Well,
which we don't have a lot of information other than they were 31 from Reseda?
Yeah, I think that's what they said.
But I've read no other information about it.
And while we were there, all those officers feeded on foot to the rear of Starbucks, where I guess they had another fire.
As we were pulling up, they were doing that.
And then the battalion chief rolled up.
And then the one in Toluca Lake
and
went
then
up, that construction dumpster.
And that one, having lived literally watched all those stores get put in. I knew that access road up along the freeway.
Right.
So we beat feeted, as they say, up
beat
there.
feeted or beated feet?
We beat a feet. And I just was praying no cars would come out into that alley.
Right.
And we got to the big dumpster fire, and that thing was roaring.
That was rip roaring. That was a construction dumpster. That was probably the largest of all the fires from that night.
Well, that we saw, because
was that the last one?
I think the
Starbucks one was the last one. Behind the Starbucks was the last one.
Okay.
But you guys got the video. We have video on our YouTube channel and our TikTok of the dumpster fire you guys shot. That was actually in Toluca Lake on Toluca.
Right. Not Toluca and Riverside, as KTLA
well, they kept saying
continued to say.
Toluca.
Well, La Paloma Blanca and Riverside. But,
yeah, you're right. It was an exciting night. But, we were sitting there, and there was a guy acting real suspicious.
This was at the Vons.
At the Vons.
Right.
They were taking the guy into custody. He had apparently several lighters in his wallet and some other stuff, and several officers were taking him into custody, and there was another guy that was just acting so suspicious.
Well, and we both picked up on him.
Yeah, he's videotaping with his phone.
Yeah.
And he's literally bouncing.
Well, it was excited. It looked like nothing stood out about him, but the behavior was all these police units are there, somebody's in custody, all this going on, and you have somebody just slowly walking back and forth along all the action, holding their phone up, just slowly recording everything, and seemed to be getting a little joy out of it.
Having shot
it was weird.
50 years of fires and arsons and taken numerous classes, it's real common for an arsonist to start a fire and then watch the response.
Absolutely. How many group shots are we in from fires over the years? Because arson investigators, the first thing you do when you get there is take a picture of the crowd.
Yeah. So and then later, the next day, it came out that Burbank Police put out a release of minimal information and said they stopped a gentleman inside of Vons, and we're kind of wondering.
And there was a car involved too.
Right.
So I assume that was in the parking lot, but.
So they took one into custody and charged him with 451 PC, which
is
arson.
451, but I guess not just the 11 or 12 fires that we were covering or that happened in the area here near the studio, but they were suspecting him of maybe lighting some over toward the Glendale part of town too.
Right.
I don't know what came of that. Like you said, we've had very little information.
Yeah, it's hard to get information on that. The public would like to know. When the sun goes down and these people come out and think they aren't seen, they got him on several cameras. I believe that's how they finally determined who the suspect was. Is the Hotel Amarado had footage of the suspect, and they looked at the footage and that's how they got the guy in custody at Vons.
Okay.
But they're thinking they've had a problem in this whole area for a while, and they're wondering how many fires he's actually responsible for.
Reminds me of those fires about 6-7 years ago in Hollywood and Sherman Oaks. The guy was setting 4 fires in carports.
Oh, the carport fires.
And then we're talking about 15 fires a night.
They ended up getting him in West Hollywood, I think.
Yeah.
That's right. I remember that arrest.
There was a lot of fires in a short period of time. Then LA Fire was going nuts on that.
Well, LA City responded to the one on Toluca. It was a construction dumpster, and right in front of a house that apparently
in a cul-de-sac right up against the freeway.
And I don't know if you saw, there were cameras on the front of that house. So whoever started that dumpster fire, I guarantee was on that house camera.
Well, I heard the radios.
It was kind of dark though too.
Yeah, I heard the radios are going to actually. The person had it on their cameras there.
Oh, good.
So I know that helped them a lot. So.
But if anybody watches KTLA, I know that they ran video of that particular fire all night, all day on because they do hourly broadcasts on KTLA news.
Where'd the video come from?
Yours truly. Actually.
Oh yes, that's right.
Yeah.
You can also see it on my Burbank's YouTube page and
that's
TikTok
right.
Page.
I sent it in, but
and just to give you a little background, Craig and I, that's how we met many, many years ago, was at a fire, I believe, across from St. Patrick's School in North Hollywood. There was a house fire.
Yeah.
And this guy walks up driving this old blue.
That I had was in my Crown Vic. that drove from Boston after college. Yeah.
And I said, "Who's this new guy in town?"
in my turf, in my hood.
Yep, and that's how we met. And we've chased fires for many, many years. And
Yeah. Oh, and it's not, we're not out, firebugs or anything like that. We taken pictures for decades for the fire departments, for training, for law enforcement, for media, and all that. It's just when you're up all night doing the night shift stringing, you end up covering a lot of fires.
well, we could segue a little there. Craig used to, how many years ago, do a podcast?
How long ago? Well, we did.
We did.
But I think that was 10 plus years ago now.
And you
I
can
think.
still find them if you want to look
It's on
back.
Spotify, Fireground Action Photography, all about the art of emergency services photography,
That's right.
action photography. Did 60 episodes.
So, and we've seen it all. So, being able to jump in my car the other day and reminisce a little,
Well, I was a pretty good co-pilot. I little rusty, but and I wasn't. Neither of us were dressed for the fire for fire scenes either. So
yeah, exactly.
we looked like rookies. But fortunately for us, enough people recognized us that we were okay.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
he's in custody, and I remember stopping by a couple of neighborhood restaurants the next day because I hadn't heard that he was in custody, and let them know what was going on and how close these fires had been, so they might not want to leave things out that are flammable, and if they have cameras, take a look at them. And then I got home and found out that he was
Yeah,
in
and
custody,
people
assuming
don't-
that he was the one that lit the fires.
people don't understand. In their mind, in an arsonist's mind, if it's convenient and they can put a lighter to it, start a little piece of cardboard that'll expand on the one that we saw. They thought it would go up a tree. A dumpster fire can get into a building.
Up against a building,
No.
yeah.
It can cause.
And there was a little bit of everything in this one. There was things up against power poles and buildings, and then there was stuff. Well, even that little thing on Screenland that was up against a
tree.
pole, a power pole or a tree.
Yeah.
So call these little fires the fuse.
Yeah, and you know that old line, if you see something, say something. That's how they caught this guy. Was
It also looked like this guy moved on quickly. I mean, he
Right.
was all over the place. So
so that was a little excitement for Monday night into Tuesday.
that was it. Well, let's see what happens after tonight's recording.
Yeah.
Why not, indeed?
Well, let's move on to Tuesday. City Council met.
There was fireworks there too.
Yeah, it
At
was
the meeting?
smoldering fireworks, I would say. The City Council met, and they basically the whole meeting turned in. The only on the agenda that was really consequential was about rents, people's rents, and rent control and things like that. And the council decided after a meeting that lasted until 1:30 in the morning, the council decided that on the short term, they want it brought back to them cap on the cost of consumer price index, living index plus 5%, and number 2, 3-month relocation assistance for residents who needed it. They also, in more of a long-term thing, want to look into closing the loophole on the renovation evictions, which means, somebody just can't say, "Hey, guess what? We're going to paint your, you have to move out," and they say, "Well, why?" They go, "Well, we're going to renovate," and the renovation is really just painting the house or something,
So they can raise the rent.
so
for
they can
new
raise the
people.
rent and bring new people in.
Sound familiar, Ross?
I think the city council
Get me
wants them to
started.
see, okay, let's have the permits filed with the city. Let's see and they're approved by the city. Okay, now you can start your eviction process because now there's actually a real, and we know what the renovations are. It's not just cosmetic. So that they're also going to talk about, and this is saying it's important, giving more power to the Landlord Tenant Commission, maybe even appointing a hearing officer who can actually make some decisions and have something behind them, through Burbank Municipal Code statutes or something. They're going to check with other cities also. Now, the thing that I found near the end of the meeting, which I thought was interesting, a lot of people showed up to that meeting to talk, and most of them needed directions to get to Burbank because they're just not Burbank people, but they want to put their agenda onto into Burbank. Yeah, this is the way it needs to be. Well, you don't live here. You don't own property here. You don't vote here. You don't live here. And now you're going to come in here and tell our city how we're supposed to do everything. Well, and Nikki Perez, commented that, hey, no, I don't listen. She goes, I don't listen to outside people, that are not Burbank residents or property owners who come to the media and try to influence how Burbank is run. And I really agree. I agree with that 100%. I
commend her for.
I absolutely do, and I'm glad she said it. But it was interesting though that Nick Shutlz then said that he took exception to that, and he really likes everybody's opinion, no matter where they're from. And I'm wondering, is that because Nick Shutlz feels that way, or is that because he's running for assembly and the cities that are right around here? It's a big area. It's not just Burbank. It's multiple cities. Is he trying to
people pleasing? Is
he playing some politics? I don't know.
Well, the nice thing that when Nikki said that, she made it very clear. She has always been a renter. I happen to know she is a renter where we were chasing fires the other night. Lived right down in that neighborhood. But she really gets it, being a renter, that feeling of being kicked out of your house with a snap of your fingers. I've had it happen to me. I know how it feels.
Yeah, I'm guessing there are a lot of homeowners on the city council that might not remember back when they were renters, or.
Well, yeah, I think we have two are renters right now,
right?
And I think Nick Shutlz is a recent homeowner. I think he just bought his home recently. And I don't know what his before he came to Burbank was, but I think they understand the thing. I just think that every time there's an issue, and all these it's like when Tin Horn Flats, and all of a sudden everybody from the Proud Boys and everybody else wanted to call in and tell Burbank what a bunch of jerks we were, and how dare we do that to that business, and hey, they did it themselves. We didn't do it. All we do is enforce laws.
And they have no affiliation with Burbank.
No affiliation whatsoever. They drive in here and they honk their horns and demonstrate in the corners and flip people off.
Well, it's nice having and Nikki. Again, like I say, she has been a renter. She gets it. These people, the ones that spoke, you can tell the ones that live here, and have raised a family here. Their kids go to school here, and the upheaval of eviction and thinking of I got to move my kid, I got to change churches. It's a
and I think that they've got to figure this out where if you own 8 units or less, you're not affected by this, because it's mom and pop home landlord who's not the problem here. It's usually the big corporations and out of town people who own buildings and everything else and multiple units, and they're trying just to make money. And I think that the mom and pop guy who just has a building with 3 or 4 units in it, they're trying to do the right thing, and most of them aren't raising the rents. And you know what? It is expensive. I mean, you got property taxes, you got to pay for roof, you got to pay for air, you got to pay for everything that goes wrong in that apartment, where all the renters just pays the rent. So I understand the expenses involved.
Did you notice
there's not a lot of profit in that?
A lot of the mom and pops that spoke that night, many, many, many years ago, would buy a duplex, several of them on Hollywood Way. They live in one. They have a couple of renters.
Right.
They don't raise their rent except to the minimal amount. But they also explained, water heater goes out, you got $1,500.
Oh.
That's, half of somebody's rent.
You want to put a roof on, you're taking $20,000.
20. That one gentleman said he got a quote for 20. It cost him $45,000.
Yeah. Well, it's probably the Burbank licensing fee.
Well,
no doubt about that.
But
I will say one thing, and we were critical of the Rancho people when they came there and were just disrespectful as could be. These people that stayed for the meeting, no yelling, no comments. They're very respectful. When their time was up, they walked away from the mic.
Well, I did hear Constantine. They did.
Right. Not to clap and to get things going quicker and everything else.
He asked for that, and they also
did respect it.
Cut down. If you got up to speak, you only allowed a minute versus 3 minutes. And the meeting, that's why they were there. He even said, "Do you want to stay here all night?" And it got the meeting through. The unfortunate thing is the things that are coming down these state assembly bills,
Yeah.
and I'm a victim of one. I paid my rent this week. It went up. They were allowed to raise it 10%, and they raised it for 3 years. I got hit with a very, very large rent increase, here in Burbank. And it's unfortunate that the state is shoving this stuff down
Well,
the city's
yeah, they're
throats.
talking about some legislative things, and maybe they'll fix some of these things, and I don't know.
I believe, didn't I hear them say they're going to have another hearing? They're going to bring in this Wiener guy that is the one that wrote these bills,
SB 35, and
some of the others.
And now he's writing another one to try to fix some of the things.
Right.
Because when they wrote it, they probably had 10 or 12 cities in mind that this was kind of for. Because there's things in it such as the Indian tribe had to approve it. Now, what Indian tribes do we have here in Burbank? But yet, in some parts of California, they do have Indian tribes that are, affected by things. I mean, they have the casinos out in the places because they own land and everything else. But it's just funny how an Indian tribe has to approve an SB 35 project in Burbank, but our city council has no decision making at all. And I will say this about the Indians. Maybe the people in the rancho should go, hey, Indian people, don't you like horses? Why don't you say no to that project and protect the horses, because that's part of your culture. So
I don't think that, and
I'm not sure what their criteria is, but it's just strange that they have to get Indian tribal approval to build an SB 35. I don't want to get an SB 35 tonight. We've killed that already. So
You beat that horse to death.
yes, we did. Oh.
Where's your
Hello, I'm Mr. Ed.
Sorry about that, Mr. Ed. Let's move on to Wednesday. Well, we had a huge, we've been having a protest that started on Sunday, and basically in front of Adam Schiff's office. He's our congressman here and represents the area, but he has his office here in Burbank, near the corner of 3rd and Olive. And they've been protesting. They want him to solve the problem in Armenia, which I'm not sure how he would do that, but they want him to solve the problem on the border and the blockade and all that. And he has actually acknowledged that he has sent letters to the State Department and to the White House to try to get them to take some action. But that's really all I can do. But anyhow, they've been protesting peacefully for a couple of days, and suddenly Wednesday, something happened. I don't know what it was, but all of a sudden, multiple semi trucks.
It was a scheduled event.
It was ratcheted up. That's the best way to put it. They have, for a couple of days, they were camped out in front of Schiff's office. They had a flatbed there. They had barbecue going. 24 hours around the clock. And then this day, Wednesday, Thursday?
It was Wednesday.
Wednesday, the 9th.
They brought in
multiple semi trucks.
Semi-trucks,
all
cars.
kinds of vehicles, and they just started blocking the streets, and like I said, they were creating havoc, where I think the police were not prepared for it, because they were in scramble mode from what we could see. We couldn't hear them, but they looked like they were scrambling to, you got a picture of a motor officer driving down the sidewalk, and I can't imagine that's in, Police 101 as being a safe activity to do,
But it's one good thing motorcycles are good for.
That's very true.
No, seriously, that's one benefit
do.
of police motorcycles. They can get to things through traffic and around traffic. But,
had
it was initially a permitted display or protest that clearly
got out of hand.
Got way out of hand, and nobody expected it.
Well, again, kind of like as we have been shared, that it's kind of like the Tin Horn Flats. You have your quiet protesters that don't agree with what's going on, and then you have a group come in of rogue Armenians, and that's kind of, that plan this with, just don't snap your fingers and get 20 semis.
And the problem is there was no messaging. None of the trucks had signs saying help Armenia or anything.
Right, there are a few flags being flown, but if
there
you
are
were
flags.
if you're the public seeing this going on, all you're seeing is chaos. You're not
Well, you're
seeing
seeing
any
Armenian
message.
flags.
Maybe you think Armenia won the World Cup or something, like they do with the Mexican flags when they win a soccer match somewhere. You know, I mean,
Yeah, but this
we
thing
had no idea what the reason was.
and this thing went up on the freeway, and they blocked the freeway, or
how Burbank finally, it was standstill. It was locked up. Semis from Glen Oaks all the way down to First Street, 18, 20 semis, one with a full container. All the rest were just the cabs, all of them blaring their air horns continuously. Cars, they were on the wrong side of the road. Lawlessness to the max. Burbank PD got a couple sergeants out there, put their thinking cap on. Let's get them out of town. They talked to the organizer. They thought they were going to go over the overpass. They got him down First Street.
of Olive.
Olive.
Yeah.
Okay.
It funneled them toward the freeway.
They stopped all traffic going eastbound. They set up Burbank kind of stopped so nobody could loop around, so it's a big carnival. They pushed them, southbound first.
Down to Verdugo.
To the freeway.
Yep.
They got on the freeway, and then they decided to take these semis and stop at Western and let some of these cars start doing donuts in the middle of the freeway.
And once again, no messaging. Let's just do donuts in the middle of the 5-5 freeway during rush hour.
Right.
So then,
To make what point? Right.
Yeah.
Other than tick everybody in Southern California off.
then they took their parade. Their plan was to go and let's disrupt Glendale, and going eastbound 134 at Central. This semi truck decides to
Go sideways and block all four
close
lanes.
all lanes.
Block all 4 lanes. So, and just stop.
So when you say there was a plan, was this presumed not to be the plan of the original organizers, or whoever decided to tag on and
You kind of wonder.
Yeah.
I was told by somebody that it kind of went sideways of not, their peaceful protest got overridden by some
yeah,
of the
respect-
well, you wonder if they put the word out via social media or something.
Exactly.
Yeah. A respectful, peaceful protest that was actually making a point just became something now we're talking about the actions instead of
Well, that's
what the problem is.
standard
you know?
operating procedure these days. Look at recent protests.
Oh,
across the last couple of years.
And what gets me is I heard from people. We had comments on our Twitter. I saw it on social media. Some people took 2 hours to get home. They had babysitters, kids to pick up at preschool, after school care, and they
But
couldn't
that's
get
what
there.
the protesters hope for, the disruption.
And that's going to get a lot
But
of
at the same time,
that's gonna get
having
a lot
no
of people on their
messaging.
side.
But yeah, they're not winning over any hearts and minds by behaving like that.
Exactly. And I guess last night they did it again, not in Burbank. I hear they went through Burbank. Burbank kind of walked them gingerly through Burbank. But I was told they went down to Westwood, pulled that semi right across Wilshire Boulevard, and stopped everything in Westwood. And that's their game plan. We're going to disrupt other people's lives to make attention.
On the other side of the world.
And in all honesty, what can we do? I mean, they're not saying what we can do to help. We're not saying, we want you to help by doing this. They're just saying, do something, change this, fix this. It's like,
I get it.
we don't have that power. I mean, what would you like us to do?
That's what they want Adam Schiff to step up and,
Which he's done all he can do. He's one of
they're
400
not
congressmen.
The problem is, we got a letter sent to us. These people are starving. These people
absolutely.
are not.
It's a legitimate cause. There's no doubt it's a legitimate cause. And our hearts go out to them.
But what can we do? It's frustrating. Something like this, and you see what's going on there. I feel for those people. I come from a religion that where people were killed many years ago, and they're killing people over there. Can't get medicine, can't get food. But then you look at a natural disaster of what happened in Hawaii.
Yeah, Maui.
And they say they're just starting to look. They're just starting to count. They expect finding 10 to 20 bodies a day.
Yeah.
That this natural, and so are you your heart gets pulled on what organization?
Well,
I just said if you're going to protest something, which you have the right to do, and absolutely, give us the message you want us to do. How you want us to help. Give us that. Don't just say here's the problem. Say here's the problem, and here's the solution we want to. You can help us with, and I think people would respond to that. But
and I don't feel more sympathetic for the problem in Armenia, as bad as it is, when they're blocking a freeway in Los Angeles. That's not going to make me feel more sympathetic.
Yeah, in Glendale and CHP, I heard them rolling officers from divisions
everywhere.
From everywhere. They needed a slew of officers.
But here's the funny thing that we all heard too was CHP told, they started rolling numerous, 50, 100 tow trucks out there and said, okay, guess what? You don't want to leave by 11 o'clock. We're going to start impounding your vehicles. Well, guess what? They all left immediately because they don't want their car. So the cause to them wasn't enough to.
So where's the personal sacrifice?
Yeah, exactly. As soon as, you might tow my car away. Oh, I'm done protesting. Oh,
make everybody else suffer, but you.
Now it's inconvenient for me, so we're going to leave. And they were gone in what, Ross? 5 minutes, 6 minutes?
Well, they told them 11 o'clock, and at 11:05, every news helicopter was launched, and the freeway was clear, and everybody said, I heard every news reporter up in their airship say, 10 minutes ago, the freeway was blocked. They gave them an 11 o'clock curfew. But
what's the secret of that? Never mess with CHP. Those guys mean business when they're out there, whether it's a pursuit or whatever it's going to be. They're going to take care of business.
Well, they have, again, you can't stop commerce. You can't stop, shut our freeways down. It's unfortunate what is happening, but like you say, Craig, we've learned the last couple of years, these people that want to do a protest, and they don't think of the ramifications of all points to it. Law enforcement, emergencies.
Right.
The other day on
it's all about them and their cause.
If there was an emergency, Burbank Fire would not have gotten down Olive. How do you move 20 semis at one time to get a fire truck by? They're not thinking of that,
Somebody has a heart attack, how are you going to get to it?
Right, but I guarantee the original permit it didn't allow for blocking the street. Maybe one lane of Olive for the truck that they did have there, but I don't know.
I drove by tonight, and I will say, in front of Adam Schiff's office, there was nobody. Nobody camped out. Maybe they're doing their protest somewhere else tonight.
I wonder if they realize that Adam Schiff...
I'm going to assume he wasn't there either.
He's not. He's all over the state campaigning for Senate.
Right.
He's not around.
He's not here.
So, but it's been kind of chaotic, and I'll tell you, I was out there, and I could not believe what was going on.
Well, I guarantee the response will be different the next time they try to pull a permit for any kind of a
Well, I got to give them a permit, but now I think they have to put caveats onto it.
Else, charge them with violating the permit.
Moving on to Friday, Providence St. Joseph's Medical Center blessed their new physical therapy, occupational therapy building over at St. Joseph's. I think Ross, you stopped by. The mayor was there, and then they sprinkled the holy water. Where they sprinkled the holy water, and
I got sprinkled myself.
Okay. Does one religion sprinkling another religion? Does it do anything?
Did it burn?
No, but I was told that now I'm part of the family of St. Providence.
You've been sprinkled?
I've been sprinkled. But they're new. It's the new physical therapy facility, which opened today. It's right across from the new ER. It is spacious. It has its own parking lot. You can pull right in there. There are private rooms if you don't want to do physical therapy, on certain machines. They can move them into private rooms. It's part of the whole ER, Cusimano emergency and unit. As they're going to apparently dedicate it. Well, it was dedicated with the holy water. It opened today. September, they're going to have a additional ribbon cutting, and then I hear the instant urgent care will be opening couple of months down the road, and then that whole thing will be operational. Right next to a parking structure, which is convenient.
They've been working on that for years and years, and it's glad to see it come to a.
It has been. They a lot of money went into it, but I'll tell you, a lot of people, they really wanted to emphasize it's open to the public. It is usable. It opened today. If you have, working on physical therapy or whatever, go over there, and they brought the whole crew from the hospital that does physical therapy. And if you've ever been at St. Joe's, they have a pretty big crew.
Yeah. Also on Friday, we had there's a little bit of news on the police front, I guess. I had been seeing a video. We were getting messages a lot about, have you seen this video of this guy at Barnes and Nobles, harassing women? And, I watched the video, and I'd seen it for a couple days. It was, all over social media. And in all honesty, I wasn't sure if it's somebody who was making their own little video, because she wasn't holding the camera. And to me, it just looked a little set up. But
I believe her camera was set up. She had set that up to, I think, document.
Yeah, in different spots. I mean, I guess it was a good edited video, and so I just wasn't sure. I'm not going to sit there and accuse somebody of something until I have more information. So I sent an email to the police department. I said, first I said, are you aware of this? Then I go, if you're aware of it, then, are you doing anything about it? Has there been an arrest? Things like, just questions like that. And about an hour later, we got back an email, just a 2-sentence email saying, arrest had been made of somebody in Glendale. We don't know who arrested him in Glendale. It was Glendale Police or Burbank Police. We don't know who arrested him. No name given, no circumstances, and not what he was arrested for. They said, the investigation was for invasion of privacy.
And was that at a Barnes and Noble? Was he arrested at the mall?
No, apparently Glendale.
Somewhere in Glendale, but
he's been known.
But here's my problem also. They said there are possibly more victims and everything else. I'm going, well, why aren't they, number one, giving his name? Number two, why don't they send a mug shot of the guy so we can put it up and say, hey, have you seen this guy? Has he given you a problem? And a number to call for the detectives. Nothing. There was just 2 sentences and said no other information is going to be released. So I'm not sure what that's all about, but that's
maybe they're trying to figure out a crime.
Yeah.
But what's funny about that is how Burbank PD handled it. Glendale has put out numerous information about the guy. They put out that they have arrested him. He has a pretty lengthy rap sheet.
Oh, okay. So
why Burbank didn't say any of this is a good question. Why aren't they given all the same information? Apparently, Glendale arrested him for peeping Tom, looking in windows. He's been arrested a couple of times.
Well, for no other reason but public safety, to let the public know that this guy's out there. He might have victimized other people or done even worse.
Burbank doesn't release mugshots, but in this situation, I think you need to release the guy's mugshot so people can say, hey, wait, I've seen that guy, and he did,
and not everybody is on Twitter,
or on Facebook,
and how would somebody see what this girl posted?
Right. They could even take a screen grab from her video and release that.
It was actually it was on TikTok. Actually, I did put
but they could take a screen grab from her TikTok video because it showed him pretty clearly.
Right, and that's what I did in our story. I went and got a screen grab and used it because there's nothing provided to us. So I just found, it just seems like we are giving them a nuisance by asking them what's going on. Not as transparent as we would wish they'd be. Okay. Well, you know what? We're going to take a quick break, and we're going to come back with the current week for you.
How would you like your business advertised in this very spot? My Burbank Talks is looking for businesses interested in a 30-second spot to appear in our podcasts. If you're interested, please email advertising@myburbank.com, and we'll be glad to discuss all of the exciting opportunities with you. Now, back to our podcast.
Boy, we'd love to get sponsors, too. If somebody'd like to get your business in here.
Yeah, I'm getting sick of hearing myself in that.
Oh yeah, we're getting a lot of a lot of.
Well,
people,
you'd hear me anyway, but I want to be talking about a sponsor instead of.
This is going on 12 podcast platforms and on YouTube. It's getting a lot of views and a lot of listens, and so you have a captive audience there. People want to know what's going on, and what a great place to advertise your business. Anyhow, we'll move on. Today, the planning board meeting had been canceled, so there's no planning going on. We're just kind of
the sad trombone sound effect.
Well, I don't have the now we forgot that. I got the old.
Oh, close the door.
Oh, yes.
Close the door.
And of course on Tuesday, no city council meeting.
Oh,
Wah, 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 wah.
So that's kind of a that shoots. The,
Why are they dark this week? Do we know?
Well, they only have to have so many meetings. They have to have so many meetings a year, and they have to have at least 2 meetings a month.
Oh,
that's it. That's the only.
gotcha.
That's the only rule they have, and so they go by that. I think if they had more meetings and maybe they have time to do more things. Maybe meetings wouldn't last till 1:30 in the morning.
I did not know that. Learn something every time I'm here.
Wednesday, our police commission.
Oh, your favorite.
Oh boy,
I thought you had that other one.
Nina.
That Jack Webb special.
Well, that's why also.
That's good. Copyright. We'll get it. Oh, you stop it there?
Oh, you want more? I got more for you.
Well, eventually we'll get to this.
What will the police commission be doing this week?
Well, it's interesting. We just heard one of the commissions last week that said, can we not have to have meetings if there's not much on the agenda, so we're not wasting the staff's time? Wow, there's a suggestion, but the police commission will meet because they just love to meet. The only report they're really getting is about catalytic converter thefts. Now, I'm not sure what they're going to. They'll get a report. They'll talk all about it. I'm not sure what direction they can give to the city council about that. I'm not sure if they're going to talk to the citizens about that.
I want to place a wager.
Information out.
I want to place a wager right now. I guarantee whoever's going to make the report to them about catalytic converter thefts is going to say that a catalytic converter can be stolen in 30 seconds, and they could be gone. 30 seconds. How you want to place bet?
Are Priuses still number one? I would love them to release, because I assume part of the report will be statistics of how many reported, how many arrests have been made, and things like that.
Well,
I would love to get that information released publicly because this is a big.
They'll get a report and they'll find out about it, but they're not going to publish the report anywhere. So it's beyond me why they ask for a report and they don't do anything with it or share it or anything else. But yeah, 30 seconds. What Ron Howard did that movie, gone in 60 seconds to steal the whole car.
Well, before I retired, the thieves were getting so brazen that people were walking out to go to work at 8 a.m, and finding people under their car. And then they were finding that the thieves are now arming themselves. They're putting up fights. They're creating pursuits, where before they weren't that aggressive about it, and they wanted to do it under cover of darkness, and didn't want people to know they're there. Now they don't care, because there's really, again, especially in LA County, there's very little accountability. They know they're not going to get punished. They might get arrested, but they're not going to get punished.
Costco parking lot in the middle of the day.
Yeah,
they're losing catalytic converters.
I think what you need to do is either pass a law that says if you have a catalytic converter, stolen catalytic converter on your property, it's a huge felony with mandatory jail time, or at least.
Well, you need a district attorney that's going to actually prosecute these people.
You got to find out what are the places they bring these to, because you don't bring them just anywhere.
Well, didn't we talk a few weeks ago about the? Well, maybe I just heard the story that there are cities looking into creating municipal codes to make it illegal for anybody to buy one. So if you go do an audit at a local garage or something, if they have any of these things, any used ones laying around, Like basically, they would have to get a new one. They would have to order these things new. They couldn't have used ones around.
Well, and on top of that, I heard L.A. just put a law in that if they stop you and you have a catalytic converter that has been stolen, your car gets impounded automatically and you get arrested and you got to go through the whole process. Now, currently, it's book and isn't it cite and release for almost a felony?
Yeah, anybody, and
You know, if it's about the value of what's being stolen. So if it's going to cost the person $1,500 to get a new catalytic converter put in, that's a felony.
Oh.
And it's over $950 limit or whatever, the limit they keep raising to keep things misdemeanors.
A lot of people don't understand. This is a device that, ladies out there don't have a clue what a catalytic converter does on your car.
Most guys don't either.
Yeah, you're
Ross.
pretty right. Yeah, you're so
But
correct.
people realize right away when they start their engines that
they
sputter,
do.
sputter, 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 sputter. Something's wrong. It didn't sound like that when I parked it here last night.
And they're a victim.
Yeah, it's about air control, air quality, and all that. That's the whole reason about them. And the car.
But these people are using these tools. It's only making it easier for them. They're battery operated
Just
Makita.
a little reciprocating saw.
Yep, and that and a
It's
jack,
usually a jack, a reciprocating saw, a police scanner,
or
in
your
the car.
telephone.
Yeah.
That you could hear the rebroadcast.
But as I recall, at least when I was dealing with them, the Priuses were, I think, the number one target. For some reason, they were super easy to just reach under and access. And
So I
right
will
out.
be listening to tomorrow night's report.
I guarantee in this report, they're going to say, well, we've got a program that you come and we will etch your driver's license number onto the catalytic. Well, guess what? They're still going to take the catalytic converter. And all that's going to do is if they do find it at somebody's shop, oh, okay, it's stolen and here's the guy. But if they give it back to you, you can't put it back on your car.
Right. Well, it's about prosecution. It's about being able to find the victim.
Yeah,
of
having
the
it
crime.
etched on your car is not going to do anything to help you in any way except maybe help law enforcement.
No, you're forgetting one big part. It's about punishing the people doing it, and what they're etching. And different police departments team up with local tow companies, and they'll have for residents, hey, we'll do 2 free cars for you. Come by the mall parking lot. And somebody will go under, and what they do is they'll etch the last 6 digits or whatever of the VIN number. I'll put me on. Hey, last 6 digits of the VIN number or whatever, and it's about so when the officers are stopping a car at 4 a.m. for driving blacked out around a residential neighborhood, and they have 5 catalytic converters in the trunk. Problem is, if they don't know who they belong to, then they have no victim until somebody calls in later.
Now,
to
I
report
just heard the other day, I forget what city is painting them phosphorescent, color under your car. So if they're stolen, you're also going to know, well, it's sitting in somebody's trunk, but how do you ID?
It's about being able to track it down to a victim for prosecution.
Yeah.
But again, I will say again, it's up to the district attorney to actually file charges on these people.
Oh, it's a victimless crime. Now, you know what? We pay $3,000 or $4,000.
It's definitely not a victimless crime. It's a property crime.
Yeah, but $3,000 or $4,000 out of your pocket. That you're taking food out of your mouth.
Definitely not a victimless crime. It's a property crime, but
and again, we have witnessed all over the TV the last 2 days these smash and grab that are going into malls.
Mobs going into stores and stuff.
Because they know they can get away with it.
Yep.
They know they're not going to be prosecuted or found.
It's amazing they're all using their own cars, though. And I mean, I know these malls and stuff have cameras outside.
Nothing's going to happen to them.
Yeah,
nothing's going to happen. Talk about we were talking in our pre-production meeting about the broken window theory from years ago. I mean, we're seeing it. We're seeing it because when prosecutors and legislators start ignoring the small stuff.
Well, I was saying on Twitter, people were saying about the guy, the sniffing bandit. They were saying that, he's probably out by now. He's probably still not in jail.
Oh, he had a pretty large Glendale. No, he had a real high bail.
Well, yeah.
I mean, Glendale.
What
did they end up charging him with? Do we even know?
Oh, over in Glendale, they had several crimes, peeping Tom, and they had a whole slew of. But he also had a rap sheet. He was in violation of his.
Hopefully, he was on probation or parole.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, also our police commission. I looked on their future reports coming up. Now, school started today. And so once again, you have all your traffic enforcement. Didn't it start today?
I don't know. It's the first time in 10 years that I didn't drive a.
Well, I think it started.
I didn't drive a superintendent.
You wouldn't know by,
around.
once again, the secrecy of the Burbank School District because they don't.
Well, they did send out. School did start today, but
They sent out what? I didn't get anything. Did you get anything?
yes, we did. You and I discussed that.
Okay.
Today being
and-
Monday,
but it
August
started-
14th.
So you know, and every year Burbank, you know, has a strong presence with the motor officers and everything else, and making sure people aren't double parking and they're not, you know, and it's just here stop doing it. You know, just trying to give them the basic laws. But the police commission is not going to get a report on this until October. I just don't understand why. Why wouldn't they get it? They should get this month saying either these are the measures because they take it's the same things they do every year. They're not going to do anything different this year they haven't done in the past. And
No,
even if,
this year, I will say, they probably are. We now have this company that's doing traffic control and citing cars. These people that are double parking in front of Burbank High.
but I don't know if they can.
Yes, they can. They can go up there. That's what they're hired for.
They can.
Those cars are double parked.
Is that a peace officer doesn't have to have that as a crime, a double parking in?
It's not a crime; it's an infraction. It's
Infraction?
a parking infraction.
Yeah, it's a parking
Oh, okay.
violation. And how many times do we hear people say?
But normally, you don't want your unarmed parking enforcement people contacting occupied cars.
Well, that's
You try to avoid that, but
Right.
they can do it.
Okay.
I don't know if
So-
Burbank policy prohibits that, but
But I will also say, we can't hear what they're doing, but I have talked to a couple of motor officers. Each one is assigned a school, and they are maybe given 1 day, people that are new.
Yeah.
a lot of
And they're gonna-
warnings.
Hmm?
A lot of warnings. It's a
Yep.
visibility and
Yeah,
education,
the
re-education.
first week is warning. The second week is all citing, and
Yep.
and it should be. But
And that's why I think on their report, they're going to get results in a couple of months. Hopefully, I would like to know when they do that report, how many they actually cited. How many did they say you can't double park here? Are they really doing?
Yeah.
How many violations
Well,
observed
well,
versus
why-
how many
why can't-
warnings, how many
Why
citations?
can't we have that report in September? Why are we going to wait till October for it?
Well, you got to cite. There's a lot. That ticket doesn't just.
Well,
Somebody has to do
Yeah.
some work here.
it's
It's going to take a little time for them to get that information.
but a month from now should have that information.
Well, they'll have
You
a
want
month's
things
worth.
at your speed.
They'll have a month's worth. I swear, someday we're going to do a story on this show that Craig finds a positive in.
Well,
That Craig, Mr. Sherwood.
Yeah, you got to give them time, and it'll be interesting. I did hear something. I forget. I was told that they're putting on the agenda.
I'm not sure what the police commission needs a report on the traffic at the schools for, though. But that's
Well, but they make the recommendation to the city council, and when they have their joint meeting,
if they make a recommendation to the city council, then I will celebrate it.
okay.
Oh, yeah.
Because right now I haven't seen a recommendation from them in a long time for anything. They talk about doing them, but
We love our police commissioners.
Yes, we do.
yeah, they're good people. It's just they're not doing
I'll
anything.
say that once in a while.
They're just not doing anything. They serve no purpose.
Well, but
It's like the rent control
Wait.
board.
Apparently, you fell asleep before city council member Zizette Mullins, who attended the last police commission meeting, say that they are writing a letter to us to change the municipal code about scooters on sidewalks.
Okay,
She brought that up. You might have fallen asleep.
well, I probably
before
did.
when she
Mhm.
reported out that she attended the last police commission meeting. So
Well, let's see if we get that by October.
Good Lord.
That letter.
they have a joint meeting.
Maybe they'll
Right.
talk.
Crabby Craig over here.
Maybe
They have a joint meeting.
maybe in December they can talk about what they did for 4th of July. Anyhow,
I'm leaving your camera on
we-
for the rest
we-
of the show just so you can stew.
we do like the police commission. It's just that I just don't know. To me, it's like the rent control board. They just don't seem, or the landlord tenant commission. They just good meaning people, no power. Let's see here. Let's get on. Also on Wednesday, we got more on Wednesday. The recycling center is having a workshop at 6 p.m. So if you are interested in recycling, that's a be something you can look into. And then
You know what I heard today? Recycling. There's a guy
What did you hear?
in some state that has gone to Dunkin' Donuts. Now I know you're a Dunkin' Donut guy.
Dunks.
If where what?
Delta.
And he's getting their old coffee grounds and using them as mulch in his garden, and he's spreading it. Letting other people. He collects it.
Bet his garden smells great.
But you know what he said? He doesn't have slugs. He doesn't have snails. He doesn't have bugs because
They're all caffeinated. They're out running around everywhere.
But I thought, we talk about recycling. This guy has thought of this. I wonder if they're doing that locally.
You think Dunkin' Donuts would have thought of it?
Wait a minute. How many coffee shops do we have in Burbank that have coffee grounds?
All of them?
And how many do we have?
I don't know. More or less than gun stores.
Well, that's why I brought it. You're a coffee drinker, and I know.
I drink it at home, though. I'll occasionally walk to a neighborhood coffee shop if I feel like socializing. But
and right across the street, there's
another coffee shop, and catty corner from that is another coffee shop, and next to that is a diner where you can get coffee.
And let's not forget the Vons on Pass Avenue, where they have 2 Starbucks in the same parking lot.
Yep, there's one in the store
and one in the corner. Yikes.
Caffeinated society we live in.
Well, after you've had
That's why everybody's so uppity now.
After you had your coffee and you got a lot of energy to use, from 6 to 6:30 to 8 o'clock on Wednesday, Walk Bike Burbank is going to get together where they're going to look over the city plans for review. They're going to have munchies and drinks that you can pick up there. And they also say that if you're going to be there and stay for a while, sunset is at 7:39 p.m., so if you're riding a bike, then bring a light.
Be prepared for
Well,
for night ride.
I was a board member of Walk Bike Burbank, and during COVID, we kind of had to lay off meetings and bikes, her riding group rides. They're trying to get back going. Good old Craig Hemphill, Craig that retired from the Recycle Center, lifelong bike rider. He has kind of gotten some energy going. That event is going to happen at it said Buena Vista Park, but I think most of us know it as Johnny Carson Park.
I didn't. You had to tell me where Buena Vista Park was.
Well, before it was Johnny Carson, it was.
Well, I think Buena Vista Park is
wasn't
still,
Bob Hope Park before that?
I think Buena Vista Park is still off of Riverside Drive, isn't it? Isn't that?
But there's no
the
tables.
smaller one on the other side?
Yeah.
The freeway?
There's no tables over there.
Where that bizarre-looking statue is.
So is this like, I was trying to figure this out before, is this a meeting? Is this like a fair or
No, it's just a meetup of
a rally?
If you're a bike rider. We're finding Walk Bike Burbank or have found that there's a lot of more people riding bikes now.
Oh, yeah.
And they would like to get things going again. And there's a lot of things that the city, in their planning on bike lanes, you notice they're painted different now. There's developments going in that they're trying to get them to do things. So they just want to be able to have people come by, look at the plans that the city has. They're going to have them laid out. You can ask questions, fellow bike riders. At one time during the farmers markets, Walk Bike Burbank used to have a repair station there. And they would do repairs before Cyclovia. Well, this event coming up Wednesday, ride your bike, and they want to make sure you do it all legal, so you have a light to go home, because you'll probably be there past 6
and a
7:39
red light or reflector to the rear.
There you go. What vehicles? So code section.
I didn't bring my cheaters with me, but in the vehicle code, headlight to the front, red light or reflector to the rear.
But if you have questions and you're available Wednesday night, come on over to
Johnny Carson
/ Johnny Carson Park.
Right, and just look for a lot of bicycles. I'm going to try to be out there, and like I said, if you're a bike rider, there's some great things you can do in Burbank, and we hope to move forward with that. So
sounds good. 6:30 to 8 p.m.
Yep.
Well, this week we're just going to cancel Thursday because nothing's going on Thursday. So Thursday's been canceled due to lack of interest.
I don't know.
I'm going to get me a bacon-wrapped hot dog at Tequila's on Thursday night. How about that?
You know what I find funny is they have some weeks they have like 6 or 7 meetings, and this week they only had 3 meetings scheduled. Of the 3 meetings, 2 are canceled.
You've talked them out of it.
I don't know. But Friday, we have a grand opening and a ribbon cutting. And it's at Love Catering at 735 South Glen Oaks.
Love Catering! Exclamation!
Glenwood. Is it Glenwood?
Yes.
Okay, I
Who
guess
typed these notes.
I guess the people who when I sent them out on 5 days ago, nobody buzzed.
Glenwood. I'm going to make that
because
correction.
it's on my calendar. That's
Make
why.
that correction. Glenwood.
Glenwood.
And it's here. It's Love Catering! Exclamation point.
And I think it's located south of Oak, or is that?
You're right.
Yeah, it's kind of like that dead end street right there, right? That Glenwood dead ends into where Martino's used to be, and now it's
Somebody told me the other day this is where that barbecue place that has moved over to Riverside Drive was at the end of the block. Yeah, it's a real industrial block.
Yeah.
But they're doing a ribbon cutting with the Chamber of Commerce.
So go there and then love some catering.
Will My Burbank be there? My Burbank News be covering that?
Well, the photographer for My Burbank News will be there.
No, he's a hack. Just kidding. Just kidding.
Well, I'll tell you what. On the weekend,
I'm going to go to the wide shot so we can all throw our rundowns into the middle of the table.
Well, I got a pet peeve. What do you mean?
Ross's rant.
we got Ross's rant. That's right.
You know, you're not cutting me out of the show.
Does he have a theme song for that yet? Or
you know what? Or I'm going to come with something just for that next week. So if you have no other reason for listening next week,
Ross's
let's
rant.
get to hear what we have for Ross's rant.
Well, you got Petticoat Junction or what?
You don't even know what
Green
we have
Acres.
here.
Green
You
Acres.
want some Green Acres? Oh, yeah, okay.
Let's give him the toilet.
Well, okay. This doesn't have to do with weeds this week. The weeds are getting cut down, I hope. But it gets me.
Have you checked, by the way, the weeds?
They're all over.
Okay, so they haven't really. Nobody must see listens to our podcast or cares.
They're all over.
Okay.
But they pave a street, nice new shiny pavement, and then within a month, some company will come in and cut right down the middle of the new paving to lay some type of conduit, destroying the nice paved road. I drove Hollywood Way the other day, coming back from the airport. That road between Empire and Burbank Boulevard is lousy. I mean, they've done so many tracks in the,
I know in the old days they used to tell companies, we're going to pave this, so get all your work done now, so we can pave it. But it's like a free for all. And what's even worse is that they'll pave it, and they think, okay, that's good enough. And then within 2 weeks, the pavement gets crumply or it sags or something else, and nobody seems to.
If they resurface it versus repave it, it's just
the city's
job. But
the city should go out there and say, you know what, you didn't do a good job. Come back and fix this.
Well, it gets me. Olive is all chopped up. I'm going down some of these streets, our main thoroughfares.
There's chunks missing from so many streets in town right now.
Yeah,
especially Olive coming over the Olive overpass.
Yep.
You have to. It's like a slalom course now to avoid the pothole.
Wasn't Measure P supposed to take care of some of that?
Is that P for paving?
P for pothole.
P for
piss it away.
Piss it away. That's right.
Oh,
now you can get the
flush. What is happening?
When we had our show meeting, we didn't have anything on our agenda. And looking up at the clock, we've been in here for 8 hours and 14 minutes.
Yeah. Well, when we did our podcast years ago, we said, we'll talk for 15 minutes. So 2 hours later. But no, to your point about the resurfacing and stuff, you swear before it's even dry and cooled off. There's some utility companies already spray painting on it to the place they're going to cut. So clearly, one isn't talking to the other.
Yeah, definitely. Well, there are a couple of things I think we should promote upon our podcast. Devin Herenda did a fantastic podcast the other day with Betsy Ross.
Yeah, from Talleyrand.
Oh, no, not that.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Was it Flag Day?
Yes.
Karen Ross.
Oh.
Karen Ross.
Well, she was the mom on Happy Days.
The owner of Talleyrand.
The owner of Talleyrand. I listened to that podcast.
Even better.
Oh, listen to her. They're coming up with some new deals. Listen to that podcast.
Wow.
Karen is great.
Love Talleyrand.
Spokesman for Talleyrand. You know, they got, and it's in my own family. I remember going there. My son goes there. Now he brings my granddaughters there. The waitresses know what my
Great
granddaughters.
family restaurant.
It is.
And she talked about all the people who have been there for the 20 and 30 years. And
60 years.
yeah.
You
Well,
know.
not the employees, but
but they have
Did
a
she meet
couple.
her husband there?
Yeah. Yes.
I just remember because they replayed the Huell Hauser episode
That's right.
recently.
And she
And he
said
went
you
there.
can watch the Huell Hauser. And she talks about Connie Barron from when they were on Burbank Boulevard, Barron's restaurant, which burned down many years ago. But what's interesting is all these restaurateurs are real friendly with their other. Kevin McCarney of Paquito Moss and Karen are very close. That's where Paquito Moss has their Thanksgiving dinner every year, is at Talleyrand. Patty from Tequilas happens to know the people at Berrigan's. Every time I'm at Tequilas, the owners of Berrigan's there. So they really
they don't seem super competitive with each
Not
other.
at
It's
all.
more of a network or an association, a community of.
and if they need
business owners.
something, they know they can call the other, and they can borrow it.
All right, we're out of salt.
You know, so
Bring over a cup of sugar.
that was a great podcast. I enjoyed listening to Karen. So when you're done listening to our podcast, listen to Devin's, listen to Karen.
It's a quick listen.
Yep. It's a 20, short, but it's a good
Definitely
one.
worth it.
She has a couple on there. Ashley Erickson, you want to know about bees? She did a whole podcast with a beekeeper.
to be or not to be.
No,
That
but it was
the
a buzz-
question.
It was a buzzing podcast. You know, so check out several of our other podcasts that we have offer. You know,
And you can
Yeah.
find them all and listen to them all on the myburbank.com.
And
front-
I'll
front
say this
page.
too. She, Devin had Ron Regalado on, who grew up
Yeah.
in Burbank and became a Disney artist, a very accomplished artist. And yesterday in the mail, I got an amazing picture that he made for me of Sandy Koufax's perfect game in 1965, with Sandy Koufax on the mound and the scoreboard in the background with the zeros and everything else on it. It's first thing I did was after I opened it and it looked amazed at it, I got it on Amazon. I ordered a frame for it. It's an amazing picture. He did some artwork on his for Pickwick too, the closing and all that, and on his website. Which if you go to Devin's podcast, you can get to his website. He's got a lot of photos on there of Burbank oriented stuff that you can buy for artwork and stuff. So Ron, maybe if you're listening to this, thank you very. I was blown away by it and very happy, and it's going to have a great place in my living room.
And R.I.P. to Pickwick.
yep.
Yeah.
Tomorrow's the
time
last
of recording. It closes tomorrow,
Day. Tomorrow's our final
the
day.
15th.
Somebody
of
told me
August.
that you can buy pins for $2 a pin.
No, those are bowling pins you're talking, not
Bowling pins. I want the air hockey table.
You too, but a lot of people have been going over there. I hear quite a few news stations have been there. Sunday, they dedicated a lane to people that wanted to come in and bowl their last time at
Oh.
Pickwick.
I'll tell you what I don't want from there. Any of those shoes.
Right. Styling.
But goodbye Pickwick. There's a lot going on in this town, and some people say for the better, for not for the better. I think we've all experienced Pickwick at one time or another. in
All
the
had
pool
good
or-
times there. Good memories.
Yeah, and that's what you get out of our weekly podcast, the week that was and the week that will be. We've been around town for a while, and besides the local politics, there's other stuff going on, and we try to cover it all. And we'd like to know what you want to hear from us. You can throw us an email. You can throw us a Twitter. We'll look into it for you. We don't want to just, have to do all the homework ourselves. But if you're seeing something in town that you have a question about, send us an email.
Or if you know of an event coming up that you want to plug or promote, and we're always looking for sponsors. We want to fill that 30-second spot in the middle of the show with other content. We need somebody to
And probably the
sponsor
other
that.
thing we did bring up in there, school did start today. You're driving around a school, the speed limit
slow down.
has been reduced around all the city schools. There are stop signs now around every school. You're going to get cited. You're going to get a ticket that costs you lots of bucks. But the biggest thing is we don't want anybody to get hurt.
No.
You know, this is my little safety spiel here. I've shot enough pictures of accidents in front of schools, and it's tragic, and all you're trying to do is cut 2 minutes off of going here or there. Slow down, take your time.
Think of others.
That's right.
Others out on the road. I was walking here tonight, which I normally do, and there are several stop signs between here and there, and people tend to roll right through them. And when you're walking, you notice stuff like that, right? Because you could be the next one hit. And the person next to me was coming up the road, and they came to a complete stop at the stop sign. And I was very impressed. I was thinking of walking over, giving them a thumbs up or a gold star on their forehead or something. And when I looked over, I realized they stopped because they were texting. And then they continued right through the intersection, still texting and looking at their phone. And so no gold star for them.
Nope.
No gold star for
I
you.
turn on the TV and I watch the news. These new cars, Tesla, all of them, not just Tesla, but they all have these screens in them to operate. And people are getting run down. People are getting killed because you're paying attention to your...
Well, I know in San Francisco, which so far I haven't come down here to LA, but in San Francisco they have self-driving taxis.
No, thank you.
Yesterday, I guess they rely on cell towers. And the cell tower went out in an area, and 14 cars just came to a stop in the middle of the street, and that was it.
Came to a grinding halt.
15 minutes, nobody could go anywhere. You'd think maybe they're having a protest.
We're going to be talking about these things forever.
So
Please.
I'm sure that...
Well, I talked to a tow truck driver the other day on Teslas. When that battery goes dead, you can't get in it. You can't get out of it. You can't do anything.
You know what? And note to our city council, you took care of scooters. No scooter sales or rentals are allowed in Burbank. Well, maybe you should think about automated cars too, autonomous cars. Maybe we shouldn't allow autonomous cars to operate in Burbank. You can do that, city council, and you be proactive with it. And don't wait till after it happens.
Well, they'll do a study.
And the police commissioner will talk
Have a
about
staff report.
All right, Craig.
That's it.
You want to take us out
Okay.
with our famous advertisers?
Well, we got you. We'll talk to you guys.
Until next time,
We'll
Burbank.
talk to you next week.
Stay classy, Burbank. My Burbank Talks would like to thank all of My Burbank's advertisers for their continued support. Burbank Water and Power, Cusimano Real Estate Group, Providence St. Joseph Medical Center, Burbank Chamber of Commerce, UME Credit Union, Tequila's Cantina and Grill, UCLA Health, Gain Credit Union, Community Chevrolet, Media City Credit Union, Eric Garcia of Farmers Insurance, Providence High School, UPS Store on 3rd Street, and Hill Street Cafe.